Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation. Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be able to do this interview. As a gigantic fan of your playing, it's an honor to be able to talk to you.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, being able to talk about an amazing new album from a band called Stone Leaders. And of course, the self-titled album just came out a few months back. How does it feel now to have this album out a few months now?
Yeah, it's out. It's out in pretty much worldwide except for Japan and the U.S., and that's going to happen this month on the 28th. So it's finally going to be out. But yeah, I'm real proud of it, man. I'm really happy with the album. I dig it.
Yeah, and it's just, I've had this for quite a while now, and just being able to digest it, and it's such a phenomenal lineup of musicians from all across the world, and just, it's amazing to hear what you guys were capable of with this album, and it's so great to listen to it.
Oh, that's so cool. Great to hear, man. Because it was one of those things, life is strange sometimes. For example, I moved to Europe about 7.5 years ago, but I really only came to, I live in Italy now, but I came to Italy to do a drum clinic, and I never left. I've been here 7 years. So it's like, life is weird if you don't, if you just take it like a sailor. Like, I'm like a sailor without a ship. So, I came to Italy, and the same thing happened with Stone Leaders. Like, the way it was put together wasn't planned. It happened as like a freak thing, and I'll tell you the story after, but, it's one of those things that was really unplanned. And in the end, I'm really happy with the result, man.
Yeah, and of course, I'm happy to see it too. And, from a personal aspect, I mean, it's great to see something like that happen for you. I mean, just like you're visiting Italy to be able to do a drum clinic, and just like loving it so much that you never wanted to leave.
That was pretty much it, because there's a place called Sardinia, which is the island. If you're in Rome, you just make a right and you go over the water, and you'll hit an island called Sardinia, and then south is Sicily, the other island. And like, those islands are full of drummers, and nobody would know that until you went there. Like, for example, I went to Sardinia to do a clinic, and I found out there was like maybe 30 schools, drum schools from north to south. And going from north to south, you could do the whole island in 3 hours. So you can imagine how many drummers are there. So, it was one thing that attracted me. And then when I went to the mainland, of course, Italy, I mean, it's packed with drummers. Packed, man. So it was cool for teaching, and it was cool for clinics. And, a lot of these guys from America, we're known for like a hard rock feel and groove, which is when you're in a place like Italy here, they're great drummers, but a lot of them don't really have the authentic, backbeat, hit the snare like Joe Franco or Rondinelli, like Carmine Appice, like the real old school rock. So a lot of the Americans get gigs over here from the big artists, because we have that feel that they like over here, that they're looking for, that they grew up with. Because there's some great drummers here, but the thing is, if you had a guy play AC/DC, he might throw a fill in Back in Black that he got from Vinnie Colaiuta. You know what I'm saying? So rock is not really the culture. So when I came over here, it was pretty much easy to get a lot of gigs and get work, and also show the guys things that they might have not known, like not really technically, but sound-wise, tuning of a snare, hitting the snare, rim shotting it, techniques to hit harder, so things like that kind of kept me alive in the beginning when I first came here, teaching from school to school, and doing a ton of clinics. And that's I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, why should I leave? The food is great. I met a beautiful girl, drummers everywhere. So I stayed, man. And that's how I started out here, man.
Oh, that's just incredible. And, it's great to see that too. It's just like someone of your caliber, of course, being able to get so many gigs, teach so many clinics, teach so many drummers over there. And, of course, just living a great life over there, both personally and business-wise. It's just like you never know when something like that's going to happen in life. And it's great to see that happen for you.
Never. It's like in Sardinia, I taught them what linear drumming was. And the cool thing is, they get a lot of drummers coming over there. They got a lot of people doing clinics and stuff. But when I first went there, I showed them stuff from my ARC album, the band I had called ARC years ago. I used a lot of linear, which means nothing hits at the same time, And I learned it from one of my first teachers, Jim Holland, and then Rod Morgenstein taught me some more. And I went to see a clinic with a guy named Sonny Emery, a drummer. He played with Chic. And he opened up for Bozio years ago in California when I lived there. And he did this thing where he was playing a left hand on the hi-hat open style, but for his fills. And the right hand was going around the kit making melodies on toms. And everything was really funky. And I was like, what the hell is he doing? And he explained how it's a linear thing. You're always going to play 16th notes, but you're going to do maybe the left on the hat, the right on the tom. And if you shut your eyes, you don't know what the hell the guy's doing, like on a record. But when you see it live, you could actually understand. So anyway, I got so into linear where I put it in my drum book, and I taught all the Sardinian guys and the Sicilians linear. And they totally went off on it, man. So it's funny now, years later, 6 years later or whatever, I see all these dudes, they're older now, they got gigs, and they're using my stuff. So it makes me proud, man. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing to see that.
Oh, yeah. When you're able to inspire and teach so many people who may not be familiar with that style, and you're able to add to their craft, I mean, as a teacher, as a clinician, and, just as a drummer, I mean, I can only imagine how great of a feeling that is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, a lot of people think teaching's like a big pain in the ass. I love teaching. As long as the mother doesn't call in the morning and say, Susie has a birthday party. I'm like, didn't you know that yesterday? You know what I mean? Teaching could be a real pain in the ass business-wise because it's hard to get people to come every week. And then the real good students that you love are usually like teens or early 20s. So eventually they get a girlfriend or they go to college. So it can become a big pain. I owned a school in New York, and I realize it, you know what I mean? But the payback is great when they're there and you see a student get kind of famous or get famous, or like just every day, man, teaching a kid on a Saturday morning, and he comes in not knowing anything and he leaves happy and like excited that he learned the song he never thought he could learn. I mean, it's cool. You get something from it. I really get something from it. I like teaching, man. I really do.
Oh, that is so cool. So with that in mind, obviously being able to teach, and especially with a style that may not be as familiar over in Italy, what have you learned most about drumming since you've been over there?
Oh, man, a lot. And I was always a big believer, because I'm a drum fanatic. I'm a freak. I was really obsessive compulsive my whole life, to the point of if I couldn't get it, I would stay and get it. It was never like stop or try it next week, But I'm always a big believer in you have to know what to do and learn what not to do. That's so important, man. It's so important. And I try to teach my students the main thing in the end is play with taste. Fit the song, play tasty, and that's everything. And I learned that from my drum teacher, Joe Franco. Taste is everything. Meaning, fit the song. You could put in your little style or like your little licks once in a while, but no matter what you're going to do, really play for the song. And, so what I'm saying is, knowing what not to do. To really learn to be a good drummer and professional, you got to be kicked out of the band sometimes, man. You got to learn the hard way. You got to learn everything. You got to not get paid. Sometimes you have to, you got to learn the bad points about the music business and the whole thing, man, and the good points. Making an album that goes gold, playing for gigantic crowds, you know, getting that great gig. It all goes hand in hand. But what I mean is learning what not to do is don't put the Neil Peart fill in a Bob Dylan song. You know, and I'm not joking when I say that, because a lot of guys don't know any better. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't know any better. They think, you know, I'm gonna kill people with this fill. You know, so pretty much, man. What I learned from watching the guys here is they're phenomenal drummers. There's nothing to say bad. I mean, I got a dude who is a great friend, and he just got the gig with that band Flesh God Apocalypse. It's like a really heavy. They're kind of famous now. I mean, they're playing in America and stuff. You know, and he's a brilliant drummer. This guy's, I mean, his feet are ridiculous. But his name is David. The cool thing about this dude is he's also got a great groove. He can play a ballad. He can play slow. So what I learned about but that's an exception to the guys here. I mean, they're all good in every way, but a lot of guys are kind of stuck in, and I blame the schools for this, but the really old jazz style, you know, ding, 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 you know, the teachers should really teach them how to make a living in the future. Besides the classic, I mean, I learned jazz, of course, I learned swing. You have to learn it. But also you got to be realistic, and they should teach the kids, you know, how to play groove, how to play different things, a little bit about the music business. But back to this guy, David, like, this guy can play anything, man, and that's a special thing here. Sometimes, I wasn't joking when I said the guy be playing AC/DC, and then he pops in the Vinnie Colaiuta fill. Stuff like that can get you kicked out of the band. So what I teach these guys, when I try to teach them styles, man. You know, there's certain things you don't do when you play in that style. You got to be by the book to some extent, and then you got to put your originality in, but make it fit, man. I don't know, another thing that's really important with teaching is, okay, in Italy, like, my Italian is not great at all. I've been here for years, and I don't speak that good. I understand a lot, but I can get by. But for Italians, like, very rarely they speak good English. So if these guys want to work, I got to teach them basic things like, I'm hungry, where's the bathroom? You know what I mean? Because they have to leave. If they're going to work as a professional, they got to go to Germany, they got to go to the United States, they got to travel out of this place. So I try to teach them all things so they can work in the future, make a living at this, because that's what they want. You know, I don't know if I answered your question. I know I ran off on that one, but I'm just trying to say, you know, you have to teach people the reality, not only the beats, if they want to do something for a living. You know what I mean? You got to teach them about the business. You got to teach them about the whole thing and not hold back. Really, like, you know, take your students seriously. I always do that, man, because my teachers did the same to me, you know?
Oh, yeah, it is so important. And when you do teach those drummers to be able to play what is right in a song, what is wrong in a song, and be able to know the difference, I mean, it can lead to so much more opportunities in the music business.
Big time. It's like, you know, nobody told Bruce Lee, don't learn the round kick. You're never going to use it. Yeah, Bruce Lee, he learned it and he forgot about it, but if he had it, if he needed it, he used it. I'm the same with, like, jazz playing, or, I mean, I studied the hell out of it when I was a kid, but I really hardly ever get to use that style because I get hired for my thing now, which I'm really happy with. But I have it in me if I need it. You know what I mean? Like, if I have to go play a wedding, come on, I can do the wedding. I could hit really light, or I could play, you know, four on the floor, celebrate good times. If you want to make a living, you know, not everybody got that big gig in life where, you know, their bills are paid and they don't have to worry. You know, if you're going to be a working musician these days, especially, you got to be a secretary for one. Means you got to get your own work. You got to be on internet constantly. You got to be able to do clinics. If you could, you got to write a book. You got to play gigs in different styles because it's really, really tough these days. Everything really kind of crashed. It affected every musician. It's a different world. It's a digital world now, and it's not like you go meet people in clubs and You know, there's gigs everywhere. You know, YouTube has almost destroyed live concerts. You know, it used to be there was so many people in a club you couldn't move. Now you do tours, and you know, there's so many less people. And I'm not only talking for like local gigs. I'm talking even the bigger bands, because a lot of people sit home and they watch YouTube. They don't go out anymore. So everything changed, man. So you got to be smart and use everything you have to make a living at this, or you got to go get a day job and play at night. But you know, I don't know anything else. You know what I mean? I mean, do you play professionally?
I'm actually in between bands right now, but I used to be playing professionally all the time. Started off, of course, learning from school, playing orchestral and swing and jazz, and then I got into the cover band scene, and then I started playing more of the hard rock, heavy metal, prog stuff. And right now I'm in between bands right now. I might be going back into it, but I do have this other passion of being able to help promote other bands and musicians that I truly care about. And when I get to talk to an idol like yourself, from myself, you know, just like someone that's inspired me so much with your work, it's inspired me, you know, just like from everything that you've been talking about so far, just like about what to play, what not to play, all these different styles, what to do in the music business. It's really inspired me already for like when I get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, even practicing. I mean, I started practicing again for real. I got a call to do an album with a band called Labyrinth, and when I heard it, it was you know, pretty much dated, what I call dated heavy metal, like stuff I started playing when I was really young, like in the 80s, you know, double bass and and I played with a band called Power Mad, and we were in the movie Wild at Heart, Nicolas Cage, and it was a David Lynch movie. So anyway, it was that style, like and it's like 1988. So I got a call maybe 3 years ago from this band Labyrinth, and I listened to the stuff, and it was and I said, you know, it was on Frontiers Records, and it's what I do for a living. I record drums on albums, so it had a great singer, and I said, okay, but can we modernize the stuff? Meaning, instead of me going do-ga-daga, can I try, like, I use acoustic drum set with electronics also. I use an electronic snare, I use a wave drum, kind of like a Danny Carey setup in a way. It's like Phil Collins meets Danny Carey. My tuning of the toms is very Phil Collins, but I like weird sounds and experimental. And I play a lot of jungle drum and bass vibe. So the guys said, totally cool. It'll be something different in metal. And we did it. So instead of doing the do-ga-daga, I used another 16th pattern, but more like a Jojo May, like... And it's still 16th notes, so it's still got the same feel, but it modernized it like 200%. And it was cool. So anyway, they let me do it. I did the record. The record came out great, but they wanted me to do some gigs. And it's been years since I played. My last time was with Malmsteen in 2001. So my feet weren't really up for it, and I said, okay, I got to start practicing again. So I started to practice and get the feet back in shape. And as I was doing the feet stuff, I just got really back into ghost notes and playing on a drum pad. And so it inspired me to practice again. And it's been 3 years of doing like at least 3 hours a day again. Sometimes I do 4. But it's like a routine. I go to my rehearsal studio and I just practice. But the moral of my story is when you practice, I practice what I'm not good at. Because you shut the door, nobody can hear you, so who cares if you suck? The practice room is meant to suck, you know? So, but it made me so much better practicing the stuff I'm not good at, because now I'm good at it, and I'm not just jamming. I'm sorry. Mooney, basta! My dog's name's Mooney. But if you hit a snare drum, he runs in the bathroom. He's scared as hell. I named him after Keith Moon. Basta! Okay, anyway. So you know what I mean? With practice routine, practicing what you're not good at is the key to getting better, you know?
Oh, it's so important to do that, too. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's your rudiments, if it's syncopation, if it's different styles, you know, even messing with your drum setup to get, like, different ideas for fills and grooves. I mean, there's always something new that you can learn.
Always, man. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know. I've been inspired to learn new stuff lately, and I got a DVD. Check this out. Maybe you'll dig this. My favorite drummer is Terry Bozzio, and I haven't taken a lesson in, it's got to be decades, but I want to study again because I'm so obsessed with drumming again. And I know everything I know, so that's the cutoff. I could try to play things cleaner, faster, more groove, blah, 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 but it's still the same stuff I know. So I need to learn new shit, basically. I want to take it out. I want to, I just hit 50, and from this age, I want to actually hit a new height in drumming. So I want to study with Bozzio, but I'm in Italy. But I talked to some guys in Texas. I think that's where he lives now, and they said he teaches. So when my DVD comes out, my plan is to get back to the States, try to get some clinics going to promote the DVD, and get to where Bozzio is and take at least 4 lessons with him. That's what I want to do. I want to do maybe 4 2-hour lessons with him, and I just want to really watch him play. Not really have him watch me. I want to watch him play right in front of me. I want to ask him questions, and I want him to teach me stuff. And that's my goal right now. Or someone like that, like a hero I could study with. I don't care about how much it is. I think that's what's going to get me to that new plateau, man. Sitting with one of your heroes.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And when you have a hero like Terry Bozzio, who has accomplished so much, and so many different styles. It doesn't matter if it's Zappa or UK or his solo work or his solo.
Oh, UK, man. UK Live was brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, his setup, one of the most legendary setups in all of drumming. There's so much that you could learn from him with those sessions.
Big time. Or a guy like, who I really love, I think he's so tasty, is Manu Cachet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, from Peter Gabriel, and if I was to study, I want a legendary dude to study with, but someone with someone who really plays, someone who could really also play pop. Someone who's not always got to show off. A guy who could blend his style into a simple song. So you could kind of so the stuff you're learning is not just drum stuff. It's something you could use in your life, in music.
Oh, yeah, and again, that is so important, too, and, you can really take that to heart, too. When you are looking at pop music and you're looking at, just doing that four-to-the-floor style and, just playing for the song, maybe just do one fill in the entire song, if a fill at all. You can take that into your life aspect, too, about, not trying to do so much and just trying to keep things simple.
Yeah, what you just said, I can go off on an hour tangent talking about it. I won't, but really quickly, David Lee Roth sent Billy Sheehan to my school in California, PIT, to look for drummers, all right? And this is before I went. So it was the year before I went. Billy Sheehan came into a clinic when I was there in E6. You know the school, right? Musicians Institute?
Oh, yes.
PIT? Okay, so I went there in 86. I graduated school early. I doubled up on my subjects, went to night school, and I went to L.A., I was going to be a rock star. But I went there, and I saw a clinic with Billy Sheehan, and Billy Sheehan said they had every drummer pretty much in PIT come and audition for the David Lee Roth thing. And it was an open call. People came from everywhere. And he said straight out, I want you to groove with me and not play a fill. And he said the drummers had a disease. It was maybe 32 bars, and there was that little fill. They had to do it. And the guys who had the discipline not to touch the fill, that's the guys he said, okay, you stay, you guys get out of here. And then it was the second calling, you know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. So discipline is so important, and you'll be amazed at how drummers don't have the discipline, just to play that beat, man. It's an art form. Phil Rudd is a genius, from the feel to what he plays, the AC/DC drummer. Genius. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And, it's just whenever there is a crash or he uses the toms, it actually means something in the song. And it really makes it stand out.
In the air tonight, it's so brilliant that everybody when that comes on, if you're driving or not, you know, you can be going to a funeral and you're all depressed, but when that fill comes, you're going to take your hands off the wheel and play it in the air. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with you that if you could do that one fill that blows people away, it shows, one, I'm a good drummer, and two, I'm disciplined and professional enough to only do the one fill. Well, yeah, man, taste is the key. Taste is the key. I'm really, I mean, I don't know about America because I've been away for a while, and a lot of my friends are saying, Jared, come back, like it's really picking up. And that's what worries me because I keep seeing it picking up. Maybe it's getting a little better, but everything has changed so drastically. The clinics, when I came here, I'm serious, I would do 3 a week, man. I was like in France, and then I would get on a train, travel to Sicily, and take a plane to Sardinia, go to Austria. And I was just doing like me, a laptop, my pedals, and my sticks. And at the time, before the airports got cheap and tried to steal from you, I was allowed to take my cymbals and put them under the plane for free, you know? So I traveled that way. And I was clinic after clinic, but now clinics are dead. But you got to use your brain. I changed the word clinic to seminar, and now they hire me again. I'm doing a seminar.
Yeah, and you know, again, it's so great to see everything that you are still able to.
Wait, you're breaking up.
Oh, you still here?
Josh, you're breaking up a little.
Yeah. I'm kind of missing you a little bit. Are you still there?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, now it's better. But yeah, I mean, it's great that you are able to adapt like that, and I do notice that the drumming scene is starting to pick back up again here in the States a bit. I mean, I'm not sure if it was like it was in the 90s and early 2000s, but it's starting to really pick up again. You're starting to notice more people, you know, be it from the YouTube videos, and they're starting to do clinics, or the legendary drummers. I mean, that is starting to happen more again, and you know, if with your upcoming DVD and that coming up, and when you're able to come back here to the States and be able to promote that, I think it's really going to take off huge because of that.
So I just finished the DVD, and the DVD is sick, man. It's I mean, I'll put it in a nutshell in a couple of seconds, pretty much. I never did a DVD, and I've been getting a lot of emails and stuff about, you know, how did you do this on a record, or how did you play this? And I said, you know what, I'm going to do a drum DVD, but it's not only going to be drumming. I'm going to also have a lot of musician friends, and I'm going to demonstrate stuff through the music. So that's what I did, and I'm all done pretty much with the footage, but now the editing process, it's like editing an album. I mean, I got to cut a lot of stuff, and that's difficult because you love this piece and you want to keep it. Anyway, the editing is next. But check this out, man. I haven't told anybody about it, but a couple of days ago, you know, I'm thinking of putting out the DVD and then doing a clinic tour. But a couple of days ago, I had an idea. I'm saying, wait a minute. It's like a reality TV show. I got booked for 4 albums, right? And I'm going to set up the drums in the studio, and I'm going to do 4 albums straight. There's no break. So it's like one day, one album is 4 days, the next album is 5 days, the next one is 5 days, and the next one is 6 days. So I'm going to go straight. And I'm like, I've never done this before. Steve Gadd does it, and Caliuta, but I've never done this many in a row. What if I film the whole thing from the beginning to the end, meaning sitting on the couch, charting out the songs or getting ideas, to the end, the final end when you hit the last cymbal, and now you got to take the tracks and send them to the band, you know? And I'm like, wait, so I'm going to make a DVD of this thing. And I started yesterday, filming me on the couch, charting out, this is in 7/8, this is in 5/4, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like a reality TV show in a way, or Blair Witch Project. It's one camera, and I'm doing the whole thing for the whole month. So I think that's probably more useful to people, because not only drummers, every musician could use something like that. You know, it's like the life of a session man put onto one DVD. I mean, do you think it's a good idea? Because I just came up with the idea 2 days ago, and I started. Do you think that's a cool idea? Would you be interested in getting something like that?
Oh, I couldn't be more interested in that idea, because, you know, it's especially with the idea of being a session drummer, it's one thing to be able to learn how to play the songs. It's another thing to be able to be in your position and, like, learn well, what to play, listening to the songs, getting the ideas, where to put in fills, what kind of grooves, time signatures, all of that stuff. And I think that is such a brilliant idea. I love that idea.
Great, because I mean, I'm thinking, you know, there's always someone better than you out there, you know, and a lot of DVDs are pretty much to show off, and I like to show off too, and I did on my drum DVD, but it's also useful stuff. But I'm thinking something like this, I really haven't seen done. I mean, guys are in the studio making DVDs all the time, but the cool thing about these is every one of the bands hired me for me. They said, I want you to do your stuff. And I said, well, is there anything set in stone that you want? And a couple of guys said, yeah, verse B on this song, but the rest do your thing. So the cool thing about it is I started to film myself first charting out their song with a drum machine demo, but not listening to the drum machine, just listening to the time signatures, then writing a part to their song that fits the song, but it's also your part. So that's the way it starts. And then going into the rehearsal studio next week to practice the parts and see if you can play them good enough, because studio time is money. You know, you got to pump it out. And then actually going into the studio and doing the whole thing, you know. And I don't like to quantize or anything, so I'm going to do the take until it's perfect. So anyway, that's the plan. That's the plan. And then I want to put that thing out and you know, try to get back into doing clinics in America. You know, I want to get back to America, not to live, but to start working again. In the drum industry, not necessarily in the band thing. You know what I mean? To get back into the drum stuff, education and clinics and, you know, that whole thing. I'm interested in that. Like, I love that stuff. You don't have to deal with a singer.
Oh, it's so true. But
yeah, but back to Stone Leaders, man. I mean, so tell me, do you dig the album? Because it was kind of done unexpectedly, and I could tell you the process. But what do you feel about the album? I mean, you know, what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? Honestly.
Oh, I mean, like I mentioned before, I've had this album for quite a few months now, and, you know, it's just, once I heard the album and I've heard your style and everything, it just, like, it fits so perfect with everyone else that's playing on there, and again, you know, you get these amazing musicians that are a part of this album writing some great songs. I would easily at least give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, I love the vocals that are going on there. Your drum sounds are absolutely amazing. The tones that you're getting off of it, and of course, your patented style with the grooves and the fills, it's everything that's going on there. And of course, the sound structures that are going on there too. I mean, I love that dark sense of progressive metal that's going on there, and it fits so right, and it's right up my alley when it comes to music.
Great, thank you. Very cool. That's cool. I mean, you'd be interested because you're a drummer, but the way this started was when I was doing what I call the couch tour, when I came to Europe, you know, pretty much sleeping on couches, sometimes get a hotel, get a gig, sleep in a tour bus. That's the way I was working for like over a year. When I got the Symphony X call to fill in for Jason Rulo because he got sick, and I did the Symphony X tour, I didn't even own a drum set. So I had to learn the songs in a hotel room, playing on my knees with my hands. You know what I mean? And then jump on tour and play with Symphony X. That wasn't easy, man. But I mean, that's what I'm telling you. It was like pretty much sailing around the world unplanned. So long story short, I went to Zagreb, Croatia, in the Academy of Music, and I noticed that the audience wasn't only drummers. There was people with guitars. There was people, you know, off the street. And I said, I can't come out here and do like inverted paradiddles with double bass because they're going to be bored, you know. So I asked the organizer. I said, can you get me a couple of musicians to play with? And he said, yeah. And he got Ivan on guitar, who's the Stone Leaders frontman, singer, and guitarist. And he got me Marco, the bass player. And we unrehearsed, we came in and we did Burn from Deep Purple, and then we did a jam, and they killed it, man. They killed it. And I said, dude, you guys are amazing, so let's do something. So the way we started it, I went into the studio with arrangements in mind, and I just played drums, and sometimes melodically on the cymbals or on the toms, where it kind of set up for a guitar riff just from the drum parts. And I sent it to Ivan, and he wrote guitar parts over it, and then I wrote lyrics, I sent it to him, and he wrote the melodies for the lyrics. So it's basically done online, and then I flew to Zagreb and recorded the real drums, and then he flew to Italy, so we started to meet each other and record that way. Then Marco did the bass, and then maybe this is interesting, but I really never liked the five-piece prog band. I mean, I love it. I'm a big fan of the 70s prog, but the new prog metal thing, it's always like the same, it's five dudes, it just bores me in a way. You know what I mean? I wanted to make more of a rock prog thing, and I said, you know what, four-piece band is much cooler. And I'm a big Who fan. I said, Ivan, it'd be great if we had a keyboard player who can sing. And, then we can kill two birds with one stone. And you can harmonize together, or there could be two lead vocalists. So we got the dude Dino, and he played keys and sang. So Stone Lewis is a four-piece, but it kind of sounds like a bigger thing. It sounds like a five-piece, and it looks cooler. But yeah, anyway, that's how it started. It started with drums. Drum beats was also my solo album, Union Radio. Drums were done first. Then I send the songs to James Labrie or Marco Slowly or Mike DeMeo, and they just sing the bad melody line that I sang to them. They try to make it sound good. But yeah, both albums were done drums first, Stone Leaders and my solo record. And it's just another way to make music, because a lot of times in rock, everything starts with a guitar riff, and that kind of limits things, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I've noticed that so much with being in bands too. I mean, of course there's amazing guitar riffs that come from guitarists. I mean, it should come that way if you learn that instrument, but when someone else in the band is able to come up with an idea, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's like a keyboard riff or a drum riff or vocal melody. I mean, that can inspire such a great song. And when you are able to do it and come up with drum ideas that eventually turn into drum parts for songs that's starting off with drums, I mean, it can lead to so much more creativity and inspiration.
Big time. And like the Bozo influence with me, I really brought out on the second Ark album, which is called Burn the Sun. That's like our kind of that was our album. You know what I mean? But again, a lot of the ideas and stuff were coming from Bozio on his solo drum things, because he's playing melodically. His drum set is set up like a piano, he says. And meaning, he could actually play melodies and stuff. So I'm doing the same on toms and little bells, ice bells, and now I got the electronics. So before a guitar riff or a vocal goes down, I'm trying to make music where almost the riff is there already. You know what I mean? Like, you can find a song in the drum part. That's what I did with Stone Leaders. That's what I'm trying to do now, because I'm doing a new record, kind of a band we're putting together with some great musicians. And again, it's kind of starting from the drums. Okay, if you got a riff, like Van Halen riff, you're going to hit me with How to Teach You. Okay, cool. It's brilliant. But I'm kind of doing the drums first and giving it to great musicians and seeing what they come up with, because it's different for them. They don't work in that way. And a lot of guys are really inspired. Like, I've never done this before, but this is totally cool. So I don't know, man. I think it's just a new way to work, man. It's a new way to get your style out there, but it's still grooving. It's not so much drum shit, but you're still playing drum stuff for drummers to dig, you know?
Oh, yeah. And, it's funny because when you're recording albums, almost always the drums are recorded first. So everyone else has the beats and the rhythm and the time signatures and the everything else that goes into the song, so they can lay down that foundation and record. So why not have the drums be able to come up with song ideas and everyone can base their things around it, since we have to usually record first anyways?
Yeah, I mean, everything's changed today. Like, when I first went in the studio to record, I was 15 years old. I made my first record, and it was a professional record. It was a real album. And I mean, I remember walking in, and if you wanted to punch, like if you couldn't stop in the middle of the take and say, okay, let me do the second verse again. You had to play that whole tune. If it's 11 minutes, you played 11 minutes. But you could punch, but the producer would say, okay, go out to dinner and come back in 2 hours, and I'll try to cut the tape. And then they came out with Pro Tools. And in those days, when I started, it would be like witchcraft. They would burn you at the stake. This is blasphemy, sacrilege. You know, now it's easy to record. My God, you don't even have to read. You could just stop after the verse and then do the next, do the pre-chorus. But that's all cool. That's using technology. What I don't like is, especially in metal, it's become like Madonna albums. They are the most programmed, stale, fake, quantized albums out now, metal albums. Even prog metal. The greatest drummers, the experimental drummers. But the standard is now, or you sound wrong, that after you're done with your take, I don't do this. I don't let them do this. You know, I had to do it a couple of times, but they press what I call the talent button, and it quantizes everything right on the beat. So to me, you didn't really play it. You know what I mean? And I just think it's a really bad trend. And the worst thing is it's hitting metal. Metal is the last music that should be what I call fake, you know. So what I'm saying is that the younger generation doesn't know about that, you know, having to dig in, having to really fucking learn the songs and really play them right in the studio, having to make every note try to be perfect, the right groove. You know, a lot of guys think it's a standard to go play a beat half-ass, and the guy puts it perfectly in time. So either way, I recorded 200 albums in my life, and it's the first time where I'm kind of down on making records with metal and prog, because they're making it unreal. The reason Zeppelin is so big, because you're still in the studio with John Bonham. It's almost like you can hear him breathing. Every time you listen, you're in that room with Led Zeppelin. That's cool. But if you do like this metal record, 2 listens and it's the last time you're ever going to listen, because the fantasy is gone. There's no dirt. It's all perfect. It becomes dance albums. So that's my complaint for the day. Do you know what I mean? The new thing that's happening?
Oh, yeah.
Which is not new anymore.
And, you know, it's great that you brought up Zeppelin, because I was thinking that the whole time, it's like, if they had quantization back when Bonham was doing stuff in the studio, I mean, can you imagine how stale those Zeppelin albums would sound if they quantized Bonham's style? It would just be unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the Levy breaks would never be the most fantastic drum sound or drum performance ever, and it is, you know. It breathes, and you can't really put a click to it. But that's the brilliance of it. It's natural feel, man. I don't know. It really bothers me, because you know, you get these guys calling you and say, dude, you got to hear this album. The guy's 14 years old. Listen to his feet. And I'm like, I can tell right away he didn't really play it. He played it, but maybe he played 2 measures, and then the producer fixed it, and now it's completely perfect. And to me, I'm a Who fan. Imperfection is perfection. I mean, I'm obsessed with keeping things on time, but pull it behind the click a little bit, give it a little dirt, and people will feel it more in the end.
Oh, and I couldn't agree more. And that's how I feel about this album, and that's why I do love it so much. I mean, you hit
exactly, it's real, and there's no samples.
Yeah. I mean, if you would have taken the Stone Leaders album and, you know, you perfectly lined up the timing, if you made everything quantized on there, I know the drums would have sounded stale, and it wouldn't have had that signature sound that I love from you so much. That's why I appreciate so much that it does have that real feel to it, and it is becoming a lost form, and I wish it would come back.
Yeah, me too, because Stone Leaders was really one of those real albums where we didn't touch anything. You know, it was a Tana Babinga kit that the guy had in the studio, and I used a Ludwig what do they call it? A Supersonic. Yeah. And that's it. Basically, that was the sound that you hear straight on the album. Boom. And we got a great mastering guy, Roger Leone in New York, who's done everything. Kiss, Rush, you know what I mean? And he's a friend of mine, and he mastered it. And I'm happy with it. You know, I'm really proud that it's got an organic sound. I mean, the grooves are there. You can tap your foot. That's great. Even if they're complicated. But the quantize thing would have destroyed it, man. And I agree with you, man.
Yeah, and, you know, it's just like, it stands out so much more because of that. I mean, with the monotony of quantization and making sure everything is perfectly aligned with the click track, it's the perfect BPM. You know, it's just like...
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? Metalheads are supposed to be, having a hangover in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, what happened to real metal? I mean, the whole thing's changed. from the attitude to the musicians to, I mean, I record metal now, and these guys are like, can you be there? We're not going to start too early. Let's set up the drums at 9. And I say 9 at night? No, 9 a.m. I'm like, When did this all change? You know, everything changed from the perfect quantization to the attitude to the everything is like, I feel like I've been defrosted. I don't know. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. You know, my students too. I teach them, if you're going to record, try to play the best you could. Like, try to record it like it's the last thing you're ever going to play. Don't rely on fixing it later, because it's just not the way to go. And a little glitch or a little time thing, that's cool. But one band I recorded with, you know, I pulled it way behind the click, and the guy kept telling me, no, you're wrong, man. We can't use this. People are going to complain. It sounds like the Rolling Stones. I said, no, trust me. It's the same amount of off time every time. And he didn't understand that, because I said I'm playing in time perfectly, but the snare drum is the same amount of off the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth click. It's the same. If you look on a screen, it looks like a fish bone. It's perfect in the wrong way. Trust me. The band went on it after, and it sounded like Metal Zeppelin. You know what I mean? It would, and you couldn't stop moving to it. That guy wanted to take my snare and put it on the grid. After I spent 3 days trying to pull it the perfect space behind the grid, I said, why did you pay me? I could have came in and did the whole album in a half hour. Like, why are you paying me to do this if you're going to destroy me later? And he was super happy after the band went down. So, I mean, I think a lot of guys don't know any better. The generation comes in, and they're used to this. They think it's a standard to push that talent button. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And, you know, I've always kind of noticed it does kind of go in cycles with that, too. I mean, sometimes perfection is what's most important, and then some bands, some musicians, some drummer, I mean, whatever the case is, they're going to be able to stand out and show that groove does matter again. It doesn't matter if it's right on the 2 and 4 for the snare, or if it's laid back or a little forward, whatever the case is. And that will become cool again at some point. I just wish we were there.
It has to, man. It really has to, because like I can't listen to a metal band. I get all the time, guys are sending me stuff, and I'm not being arrogant, or I'm not being like, you know, cocky, but unless you hit me on that first song in every way, from feel to you know, to song, and you got to look at me as like a record company in a way, because this is what the record companies think. If you don't hit them on that first song, they're just going to turn it off or make it a frisbee and throw it out the car window. So you got to really kill them on that first track. And the way to do that is try not to sound like everybody else. Maybe it is a standard to quantize metal, but I don't know, man. Try to change that standard. Something has to click, man, because it's a big downfall. You know, 2 years after 2 years, you can't listen to one of those quantized things for 2 years straight like you do Zeppelin or you know, a band like that. For me.
Yeah, and, you know, it goes into a lot of different ways, too. I mean, you know, be it quantizing for the drums, but, you know, sometimes also with the guitars, too. You know, I like when they try to do everything perfect, then they just try to do, like, fretboard gymnastics the whole time, and there's nothing really memorable that's going on with the guitar. I mean, there's so many bands that can do that, and it's so cool that you can do that, but where's the memorable parts? Where's the groove parts? Where's the parts that's going to make you stand out?
Exactly, man. Exactly. I think old school is best school. You know, it's you know, like I'm not complaining. I just wish it would go back to you know, feel music, because metal was a brilliant thing, and metal drummers were always the most experimental. In fact, prog metal is the new jazz, because way back in the 50s, man, it wasn't about bang bang bang. It was you know, when you listen to guys like I can't even think. I mean, these guys were experimenting, man. Jazz was like it was a deep form of music, and now the guys that are doing that, really working on new ideas and trying to take it out using rhythms and stuff, it's the prog metal guys. So those are, like, in my opinion, the best drummers in the world right now. And they practice their asses off. But when they hit the studio, boom, the band or the producer or whoever, he just takes away their whole feel by putting it online, man. You know? I don't necessarily dig that, but on a good note, I mean, yeah, Stone Leaders is it's a very real sounding album. I'm really happy with that, man.
Yeah, and that's why I keep going back to it. I mean, every time I'm able to learn something new from the album, I mean, whether it's something that you're playing or whatever anyone else is doing, I mean, there's always something new to catch on to it because of how real and natural it sounds.
Cool. I'm really glad, man. Thank you so much. So this piece comes out on the 29th in the States, and yeah, check it out. I mean, we got a single out, and since you're a drummer, you might like this. The single is called "Box of Time."
Yes.
And we got like a lyric video out right now on YouTube. And I'm a big Billy Cobham fan, and I actually got to open up for Billy Cobham. I was playing with Jennifer Batten in Brazil, and we opened for Cobham at a festival. And the cool thing is, he was there for like 3 days with us. So I got to hang out with him and go to lunch with him. Super cool guy and one of my heroes. Man, I just lost my train of thought. I was talking about, what was I talking about? I completely forgot. Oh, okay. Billy Cobham. So Mahavishnu Orchestra was a group years ago with John McLaughlin and Billy Cobham.
Yes.
So the main groove on Box of Time is a 7 and a 9. So it's still 16. It's still 4/4. But the verse of Box of Time, I do like. It sounds a little Zeppelin-y, like the grunge. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2. But the 9, I literally stole that beat from Cobham, but he plays it twice as fast. It's on one of the Mahavishnu albums called In a Mountain Flame. It's a 9/8 thing. So I put them together, 7 and 9, and actually it's 4/4. So you can still, the average person, tap their foot to it without losing people. So I took that vibe with the Stone Leaders. If you're going to play odd time, make it, even if it's weird, make it user-friendly in a way. Make it non-musician friendly. But if you want to hear that track, it's the verse of Box of Time, and it's like a 7 rhythm that I just made up, and I connect it with the stolen Billy Cobham rhythm. A little insight to the Stone Leaders.
That is so cool. And, I love the fact that we can do that as musicians, as drummers, where we're able to subdivide and make it still in 4/4. I mean, when you're really able to make it proggy like that, making it 7 and 9 and still making it the 16, but it's still in 4/4. I mean, you try to explain that to non-musicians or even some non-drummers or whatever the case is, and their brain might explode trying to explain all that. But when you get someone who
it's hot dog time. Let's get out of here. Let's go to the hot dog. Exactly. You know who's brilliant? Thomas Hawkey. I mean, I know him because I went to their studio a couple of times to drum from Meshuggah. So when I was over in Europe without a drum kit, Thomas was cool enough to lend me his kit when I went to Sweden to do a clinic, and then I did a couple of shows, and he would always lend me his big sonar kit that he had on the cover of Modern Drama. And Thomas Hawkey, man, this guy's doing like the craziest odd time stuff on his feet and a snare, but he's always got the right hand on a china or a hi-hat or a ride doing 4/4. And it's just brilliant, man, because it still connects to people, even though it's psycho underneath. Like, that's a brilliant drama. In my mind.
Oh, absolutely. And with that in mind, I mean, obviously being able to play like Thomas's kids, being able to play rental kits and stuff like that, I mean, what's it like for you to be able to adapt to those different situations where you don't have your standard kit and you're able to adapt to these different kinds of setups?
Well, you know what, I started out on 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, all the way around, I was a Neil Peart fanatic, or Keith Moon, always a big kid. I broke my arm years ago, and doctor said you're never going to play again. But I do play again, because I lowered all my stuff on the right side, I took the toms away, and I started to play a 4 or 5 piece kit, and it just made me more inventive. And then I realized when you go into clubs, you got to be ready at all times for a 4-piece kit with 1 tom, because most of the clubs you're going to hit, and you got a house kit, is 1 tom and a 4 tom, a kick and a snare. So I kind of got used to playing all my crazy stuff on that, so I could always be safe if I do a festival and I have to use the house kit, or I think that's important to be able to do your stuff not on the kit that you have with the rack and everything is set perfectly. You know, you got the 2 splashes in front. You know, chances are you're not going to be able to use that if you go on a festival or, you know. So I just kind of trained myself. And now back to a big kit again. You know, I got 8, 10, 12, 13, 18 floor, kick, snare, electronic pedal, electronic snare, and wave drum. So it's a lot to carry. You know? But yeah, train yourself on a little kit, and then everything else is just a bonus if you get to use your real kit, you know?
Oh, yeah, and that's exactly the way I started, too. I started on a 5-piece kit when I was learning in elementary school, and just a couple cymbals, and I just learned, like, the basic stuff. And then when I was able to save up and get my own kit, I got a huge double bass kit that I'm still using, and I was able to adapt that to that kind of kit. So when I get the opportunity to play a bigger kit like mine or someone else's, or if I'm playing a smaller 4-piece kit or whatever the case is, I can adapt to those situations because I started off playing that way, and I think it makes you so much more inventive when you are able to adapt to different setups.
Big time. Big time. I mean, if you need more than one Tom, you're in big trouble. Crazy.
Hey guys.
Yeah, man, I feel like I could talk to you all night. Really, like, you're great, and I appreciate it. I got to do another interview with Dave, like, right now.
Oh,
and
sure.
then I got another one after that. I got 3 in a row.
Oh.
I want to be on the phone with you because it's very cool to talk to you, and you know what's happening, especially with drums. I'm really, you know, but me and you should keep in touch anyway.